For joining us on News 360 live from Adisawe Kanga in Accra. I am Aisha Yakubu Hali.
And my name is Pakwisia Sari. And coming up in the next 60 minutes.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
The chiefs and people of Aboso in Prestia in the western region vow to resist any attempts to sell the historic Aboso glass factory for scraps.
Also coming up, flag bearers of political parties crisscross the country to shore up support less than 30 days to the December 7 elections.
Coming out tonight on the business front, banking experts caution against introduction of new taxes in 2025 following the impact of government's domestic debt exchange program on businesses.
Elsewhere in the world, Iranian charged in alleged plot to kill Trump during campaign.
We've got details of all these stories, plus many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on your DSTV channel 279. You can join us with your views, comments, and suggestions on any of our top stories this hour. Feel free to visit any of our social media pages on Facebook and on X.
Beginning with the chief and people of Aboso in the Prestia Huni Valley municipality of the Western region have vowed to resist any attempt to sell the historic Aboso glass factory for scraps. Meanwhile, the CEO of Gihok Distilleries, Maxwell Juma, who stands accused, says it is a requirement of the universities. Irama Smith has more.
The Aboso glass factory, established by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, in 1966, has been a significant employer and manufacturer in the western region. However, its decline led to a takeover by Togo's then opposition leader Gilchrist Olympio, who renamed it Tropical Glass Factory. After being placed on a divestiture listing in 2003, Gihok Distilleries Company Limited took over in 2019 with the aim to rehabilitate and restart production to help reduce its reliance on imported glass and bottles and supply local production to Gihok's liquor brands. Fast forward to 2024, a letter signed by Gihok's CEO Maxwell Kofi Juma has granted Link-In Birds Company approval to access the factory for scrap collection. This move has sparked resistance from the chief and people of Aboso, who claim that the agreement was to evacuate old equipment only upon the arrival of new equipment for operations. On a tour of the facility by the news team on November 5, metal pillars had been removed whilst oil was being drained from the transformer. Electrical cables connected to machinery were also being removed. The community alleges that Link-In Birds Company is disregarding the agreed-upon implementation strategy. A resident, Abdullah Idrisu, revealed that this transformer was still operational when the company folded up. Initially, we assumed they were removing only obsolete metals. However, our visit has exposed a disturbing reality. The functional transformer which generated power here has been drained of oil and is now slated for dismantling. I can confidently attest that this transformer was operational before the company's closure. A demand by some youth of Aboso for the workers to halt operations turned into an altercation. Meanwhile, the chief of Bogoso says they will collaborate with the MPs in the enclave to address the issue. The traditional stool is facing significant losses, prompting us to convene a meeting with ministers and members of parliament to address the issue. We urge them to renovate the factory, otherwise they will have to leave it. Additionally, we appeal to Maxwell Kofi Juma to reconsider his proposal to sell the factory as scrap.
That decision may take some beton we channel. I need the scraps in the review.
In another development, the managing director of Gihelk Distilleries Company Limited, Maxwell Kofi Juma, in a telephone interview, indicates the current developments are in response to requests from the new investors.
We are demolishing some buildings. Contractor is a foreign company. We've directed that when they are doing the clean, they should not take anything out of the building because the consulting architect has to inspect everything that is taken out.
He has urged the community to put their concerns in writing to the company.
We don't want politics in this because the last thing if an investor is interested in is to be engaged in politics. If they have any issues, please let them write it down. If they can't give it to me, they should give it to you and then give it to us.
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Aboso.
In other news tonight, seized narcotics totaling in excess of 150,000 kilograms have been destroyed by the Narcotics Control Commission in a bid to combat illicit drugs. The seized items, which spanned 2021 to date, is a reflection of the Commission's mission to protect citizens and uphold societal values.
Codeine topped the chart with 105,700 kilograms, followed by cannabis, which weighed 46,128 kilograms. Cocaine weighing 9 kilograms were also destroyed. According to the Narcotics Control Commission, the seizure of the drug spanned 2021 till date. The Director General, Kenneth Edu-Amanfo, giving green light to the exercise, explained how each kilogram of the illicit drugs represented lives potentially destroyed, families disrupted, and communities destabilized. He further acknowledged how the distraction sends a clear message of the non-containers of illicit activities that could perpetuate addiction, violence, and crime. Director of Operations and Enforcement, Solomon Stanley Ayo, reiterated the Commission's resolve to continue its renewed dedication and shared vision of a drug-free society.
One, the user of the drugs is addicted to the drugs. And these are mainly the youth, the school-going age, and they are the future leaders of the country. So when these people get into drugs, they forget their goals in life, abandon their academic life, and they end up becoming drops out. And when they become drops out, what follows is they become armed robbers, street kids, and a whole lot of the negative crimes associated with the criminal world. That's the aspect to the one who uses the drugs. Now, the one who trade in the drugs, it brings about corruption in the system. Drug dealers, they thrive in corruption.
The Commission is poised to educate and sensitize the populace as interdiction and enforcement are not the only solutions to tackling illicit drugs.
Elsewhere, retrenched Railway Staff Association Takrady have made a passionate call on President Akufo-Addo and flag bearers of the major political parties to intervene to ensure their end-of-service benefits owed them are paid immediately. At a press conference in Takrady on Friday afternoon, they stated that the delay was causing them hardships, with many of them in dire straits, and they need a quick intervention. Earlier in the day, we spoke to our correspondent Rama Smith on this very latest development. We first found out from her exactly what the situation is with the railway workers.
So, on the 1st of October 2006, the Railways Corporation retrenched 674 workers because of issues with their wage bill and the fact that they felt they were overwhelmed with the number of employees. So what happened was that staff who were aged between 56 to 60 were asked to go home. However, before this, there was an agreement. They instituted a joint committee which came up with an agreement that they were going to give them 1.35 of their monthly salaries times the number of years left for them to go home. This is in contrast to their CBA, which actually stipulates that when such a situation occurs, they are entitled to 6 months of their salary multiplied by the number of years that they serve the company. Even though they raised issues, eventually it was agreed and they went home with the understanding that they would be paid. This was, however, not done in a way that they were happy with, because this salary was divided into 50% 35%, and 15 months over a period of 5 years. So they are saying that in the end, they lost. Not being happy with this, they took the case to court and they won. So the court asked that they should be paid the right monies that they deserved. The company, not being happy about this, however, took it to the appeals court, where it was again dismissed. So the retrenched workers now came back and started selling the assets of the railway company to pay off what they felt they were owed. This was also frustrated by the Ghana Railway Development Authority, which claimed that the asset belongs to the authority and not to the former company. This was sent to court, and the authority also lost the case.
This is your Election Command Center, and shortly we will engage our regional correspondents on election matters and security in Boko as well. Ibrahim Wangara is reporting from the Upper West region. He will tell us the views of some young voters. Claude Kumiebisa, our reporter in the Bronga-Hafu region, will also tell us what will inform young voters to cast their ballot. And Castro Senyala, our correspondent in the Upper West region, will update us about relative peace which has returned to Boko. Let's first engage Ibrahim Wangara from the Upper West region. And as Ghana decides to prepare to head to the polls, it is clear that young voters will play a significant role in shaping Ghana's future. But to what extent and indicators will these young voters consider? As the Global Info Analytics says, about 12% of Ghanaians are undecided on who to vote for. Ibrahim Wangara has joined us. Ibrahim, good evening to you. You have been speaking with some young voters barely 29 days to the December polls. What have they been telling you?
Good evening, Aisha. Yes, youth in Ghana's Upper West region are trying for their voices to be heard as the country gears towards the December general elections. And in my engagement with a session of the youth in this part of the country, one thing is clear. Most of them are saying that their indicators or things that will inform their choice to vote for a candidate is going to be based on developmental issues, policies, agriculture, and economic activity. So these are the areas that youth in this part of the country says they will prioritize before they will
it's in foresight. I would want to see policies, good policies that actually are geared towards education, beautiful educational policies that trickle down to the rural communities. The second that I want to talk about is agriculture. I also want to see policies that geared towards agroecology. The third has to do with environmental protection. The change in women empowerment. But it's like our rural women are very deprived. Getting support even to sustain their business is a big challenge.
Me, I'm non-partisan. My vote goes to a candidate that is competent to represent me. When I say to represent me, to represent the interest of Ghana at the presidential level. I'm going to also consider the nature of our route. I will consider the economic situation. I will lastly want to consider policies of the various candidates.
What is inspiring me to vote this year is basically based on policies. I'm someone that is much more enthused by policies.
Ibrahim Wangara there speaking to some voters in the Upper West region. Now, some residents in Sunyani in the Bronga-Hafu region have made the decision to abstain from voting in the upcoming elections. Some cite a lack of faith in the current political system, and I believe that their vote will not make a difference. On the other hand, there are residents who have decided to vote, but on condition. Claude Kumiebisa is our Bronga-Hafu region correspondent and is also on the Zoom with us. Claude, with a few weeks to the general elections, how are campaign activities gearing up in Sunyani?
Well, Aisha, when you come to Sunyani, I would say the campaign flavor is really down. You know, usually when it gets to campaign seasons like this, you see politicians mounting platforms and then selling their messages to voters for them to vote for them to, win their votes. But this time around, when it comes to Siani, we are not experiencing that. All we can see is the politicians going door to door, visiting public places, churches, and then especially moving to the villages to sell their messages to the villagers for them to be able to win them, to vote for them in the upcoming elections. So when it comes to Sunyani, when it comes to this fanfare and then rallies, it is not being felt. We are not seeing that here. It's not being felt here. So here, we are not really feeling that. So campaign on its whole is something that is very low. We are not experiencing that here at all.
Claude, you've also been interacting with some residents. What have they been telling you?
Basically, a considerable number of residents here are saying they are not going to vote, especially when it comes to the Sunyani East constituency. All they are saying is that the vote that they cast, they are not reaping the benefit of it. Because especially when you get to a community like Berlin-Top, they are really suffering from the bad roads there, which is really impacting their health and so on and so forth. Quite some few days ago, I even spoke to a family, and according to them, there is the effect of the dust is really impacting them, and one of the families is being diagnosed of a health problem. It's been diagnosed of a lungs issue. So due to that, they are even vacating their residents. So it's something that is really worrying. Right. Today, I went out and spoke to some of the residents, or what they are saying is they will not vote until their problems are solved. These are some of the issues they spoke to me about.
This year, it's not in my plans for now. I'm not seeing anything different from the first, because I've been voting for over 20 or 16 years old, and I'm not seeing a difference. When they come, the politician, when they say what they want. I think they need your vote. After you vote, that is all. And I'm not seeing a difference. I just want to relax and do my work. I don't think I'll go for voting this year.
Because
I have made my mind not to vote because things are very difficult for the youth. As at now, the economy is not good. We are looking forward for a new government to make things work. We are still developing, and we hope a new government will come and continue.
Let's now take you to the Upper East region, and relative calm has returned to Boko after weeks of the violence following the resurgence of the chieftaincy conflict. Peacekeeping forces made up of the police and military continue with intensified operations in the town to prevent an escalation of the resurgence and to fully restore peace. Trading activities in the town, which had declined, are picking up and residents going about their daily lives. Upper East Regional Correspondent Castro Senyala, who continues to monitor the situation in Boko, joins us with further details. Castro, good evening to you. What more can you report on this?
Good evening, Aisha. We continue to monitor the situation in Boko, and I can report that a relative calm is gradually falling back into the town, where people are able to go about their activities, especially traders. Unlike a few weeks ago when the conflict was at its apex. If you come to Boko, where I have been yesterday, you see that people are beginning to come out gradually. Even though tensions are still high, trading activities are coming up a little. Shops that closed are opening, and the town appears to be bouncing back to brisk business activities.
Good to know. But Castro, there have also been calls for security patrols and escorts, especially on major highways. Has there been some improvements with that?
Right, Aisha, concerns have been raised, and in fact, people have made several calls, especially those living within the township of Boko, that restrictions are there as far as, and threats are there as far as moving towards Bogatanga and that of Togo is concerned, and that state security agencies should intensify patrols. Yes, the calls have been heeded to on portions of the Bogatanga-Boko highway, for instance. Security patrols are there, mounting it 24/7. And then if you look at Bogatanga-Walwali Road as well, there are security forces there to monitor that particular highway to ensure that, these attacks that usually happen there, and very deadly ones for that matter, are prevented as quickly as possible.
Right. Thank you very much to all our abled correspondents from their various regions, bringing us up to date on happenings in there. Ibrahim Wangara joined us from the Upper West region. Castro Senyala joined us from the Upper East region, as well as Claude Kumi Ebisa also joining us from the Brongahafu region.
Right, Aisha. Now, flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party has criticized former President John Mahama as the worst performing president in the history of this country. Now, addressing party faithfuls at Mansour Dubia, the flag bearer appealed to the people of Mansour Dubia to vote for him for development.
Dr. Mahmoud Baumia was welcomed by the electorate of Mansour Dubia. He was supported by some party bigwigs and functionaries into the constituency. Addressing party faithful, Dr. Mahamudu Baumia criticized the former president as the worst performing president in the history of this country.
Now, Bedi Omanpenyi, the event of the Oyema Mansour Dubia. Wa Mamu Bibia, Enyasa. Usha, ye data more of all the presidents in the Fourth Republic. Omanpenyi Dada Mahama has been the worst performing president of the economy in the Fourth Republic.
Earlier, Dr. Mahamudu Baumia met with the clergy, Muslim clerics and traditional leaders. His engagement was to sell his policies and convince the stakeholders to vote for him. Chief of Mansour Dubia Nana Duku Apia Dankwa assured the NPP flag bearer of their vote in the upcoming elections.
My dear man, and say, dear to me who said, I dear intervention, dear Mabana, effective Obia, and then Obia Fia, some free education, higher second cycle, no, Obia Fia,
The Vice President and flag bearer promises the people and the chiefs of massive development when they vote for him.
As President of the Republic, a big difference. The rest of
And now the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources and Member of Parliament for Damongo, Samo Abujinapo, says the decision by his party's flag bearer to choose Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh as his running mate has become a nightmare for the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC. According to him, the Baumia Napo ticket will be a solid team to break the AIDS, as the party is keen on breaking it. Addressing party supporters in the Damongo constituency during the campaign tour of the NPP running mate, he also said the Damongo constituency is secured for the NPP and also the stronghold of the party.
He's a humble man, he's a respectful man, he's a man of dignity, he's a man of integrity, a man of extraordinary hard work. The NDC are afraid of him, so they are attacking Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Napo day and night, because they know Napo is their ninth man. Napo is dismantling them on the ground, and Matthew Opoku Prempeh is going to be the next vice president of our country.
Elsewhere, the NDC flag bearer has also slammed President Akufo-Addo for what he describes as self-glorification after the president unveiled a statue of himself in the Western region. John Mahama posits that President Akufo-Addo should demonstrate humility and allow others to praise him for his achievements rather than seeking personal gratification. Here's a report by Komla Kluche.
Speaking at a rally in Kaswa of the Ewutu Senya East constituency in the central region, John Mahama emphasized that debt exchange program was necessitated by government. 11.5 billion over borrowing had devastating effect on many citizens, including the Kama Group CEO who lost his life savings and eventually passed away.
Nipa bebre so kan ho pensioners ai che say omusika na omode to ho se ne be ya omunyi no mko pension omutimi to omundro sa ban we se omuntimi ahwe yesika sem so amasa nipa nyina edi areho.
John Mahama contrasted the current economic woes with a gradual development achieved during his tenure. Citing Kaswa as an example, he noted the construction of interchanges, schools and lorry stations, which transformed the town and created opportunities. His entourage then moved to Bujuburam in the Goma East constituency. He was uncharitable to the president.
It was said on my penny bia unya hobrase. Nipa ne was on mobo Aboso. No more camfo. And ye wan kasa no akoye statue. Now they are basi ho. No ankasa wako mumbo nsem mame no akopa huntuma. What be that? University of Ghana he nyina we chimo munsa mo mama no doctor nunto mi nim baby ode ko. Adwena sa bibia mbeka ho biom. Ni omo be ya no mo aye no. And so obi say maban na woso. Onso maban a eba no. Ebesesa nia maban ya ye. Na abaye aban foforo na maye masesa maban ensem basabasani.
In some more political news this evening, leader and founder of Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Tremantin, has accused the two leading political parties of implementing poor policies targeted at improving agriculture in the country over the last 32 years. He said the policies implemented by the two parties during their terms in office has not made any impact to drive growth in the agriculture sector.
December 7th election is less than 30 days to go. Political party candidates have intensified their campaigns across the length and breadth of the country. Here in the northern part of the country, the leader and founder of Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Tremantin, has been touring the northern region. Amongst the things he's been talking about has to do with his vision for the agri sector. He says that he will use a rain-fed technology to improve agriculture in the country.
The policy direction of NDC and then MPP is only scratching the surface. It's only scratching the surface. You see, agriculture to become productive, there are four basic and critical requirements. One, it has to be market-led. Number two, it must be technology-driven. Number three, it must optimize value to farmers. And number four, it has to be on a large scale. You see, the reason why, in spite of all the investments we've made in agriculture since independence, we still cannot even feed ourselves or even export agricultural commodities.
This is News 360. We have some business news coming up next. Please stay with us.
One bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint. Simply
Dr. Baumia once said,
"We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast."
Good evening. It's time now for some business on News 360. My name is Minu Afo. Let's get straight to our stories. Banking expert and executive chairman of LVS Africa, Alhassan Andani, has cautioned against the introduction of new taxes in 2025 by any newly elected government. The following report has details. Speaking at the first Ghana CEO presidential gala dinner in Accra, Alhassan Andani made a case for the need to simplify and consolidate existing taxes following the impact of the recent domestic debt exchange program on businesses. He also criticized the Ghana Revenue Authority's aggressive tax collection methods, describing them as a terrorist approach.
Give the private sector space to recover. If we come in with any new tax measures, we don't simplify and indeed merge and delete some taxes that the last time I was speaking to a business, they had 33 different taxes.
For his part, private legal practitioner and executive chairman of law firm AB and David Ofosu-Dorte, expressed concerns over Ghana's politicized approach to seeking IMF assistance, urging for a consistent national position.
If it is good, then we all agree on how to go to IMF. If it is bad, then we all agree why we shouldn't go to IMF. It does not really sit well with me when every party in opposition says IMF is bad and every party in government says IMF is good, even though we have gone there 17 times.
Meanwhile, flag bearer of the ruling New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, addressing the issues, reaffirmed his commitment to empower the private sector through flexible taxation when elected.
We will offer startup companies investment tax credits for the first 3 years of their operations. Will make the cost of electricity cheaper for industries by making commercial tariffs equal or lower than residential rates.
The first Ghana CEO Presidential Gala Dinner 2024 was organized by CEO Network Ghana under the theme, Reigniting the Business Economy and Social Contract for Growth, a business manifesto for political accountability and sustainable development. In more stories, over 1 million Ghanaians and local businesses have benefited from a 3-year pandemic management initiative through a public-private partnership between GIZ and 9 private sector organizations. The initiative sought to boost health among Ghanaians and organizations through 2 comprehensive pandemic management models.
These 2 interventions, spanning 7 regions across Ghana, aimed to equip participants with vital knowledge and skills to manage the impacts of pandemics in their professional, personal and family lives. Dr. Holger Till is team lead for the Develop PPP Ghana project at GIZ.
We are partnering with the private sector. The private sector also is giving, on one hand, funds, but also through their staff support to the project, as I said, so that the employees can benefit the families, but also very importantly the communities around the companies.
Director of the Africa Center for GeoHealth at the University of Ghana, Professor Julius Fobo, urged corporate entities to seek support on pandemic management.
We are also still available to give them the needed technical support that will start them off. In case any pandemic erupts, that's totally different from the previous or the ones that they know about.
The 2 pandemic management projects were funded through the Develop PPP program on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and the GIZ in collaboration with 9 private partners.
Away from that, in a significant step towards enhancing Ghana's credit landscape, My Credit Score, a personalized credit reference and scoring platform, has been launched to provide Ghanaians with a transparent assessment of their credit worthiness. The initiative, supported by the Bank of Ghana, aims to make credit more accessible by allowing individuals to demonstrate their financial responsibility.
The new system rewards individuals who maintain good credit habits and achieve high scores, enabling them to qualify for larger loan amounts and incentives from financial institutions.
My Credit Score is basically a credit bureau. We are licensed by the Bank of Ghana to be able to calculate people's credit score. Credit score is basically a number that represents whether you are likely to pay back a loan or not, depending on who you are and your behavior around money.
The Ghana Association of Banks has praised the launch, calling it a crucial advancement in the nation's credit system.
As a country, we should all be proud of what we have done here today. It's a monumental step for an efficient and safe delivery of credit within the country.
The Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications also welcomed the initiative, highlighting its potential to foster microlending and expand credit access across Ghana.
What this would do is that it would open up the whole informal sector as well. People who in the past were not able to get access to credit would be able to get access to credit. The fact that as a country we have lived at the transactional level for a very long time will be brought to a halt.
My Credit Score Limited, the Ghanaian-owned company behind the platform, is committed to promoting responsible credit practices and making credit accessible to all.
And that's how we wrap up the business segment here on News 360. My name is Menu. Afo, stay with us. Sports News is up next.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Billy Shen. Now to our first story. Asante Kotoko is set to miss the services of informed striker Albert Amoah due to injury for the upcoming game against Bechem United. The former Great Olympics attacker picked up an injury when the Porcupine Warriors succumbed to a 1-0 defeat to Out of Lions on Sunday. The forward has netted 5 goals in 9 league matches so far. Here's a report highlighting how his absence will impact the Porcupines as they search for solutions.
Asante Kotoko are in big trouble. After losing 2 straight matches in the Ghana Premier League, the Kumasi Bay side have seemingly lost the man that has arguably kept their title hopes alive so far, Albert Amoah. The striker joined the Porcupines after Great Olympics were relegated to the Division 1 League, and in the space of about 2 months has become almost indispensable to the side, scoring 5 of the side's 8 goals this season. This, in mathematical terms, amounts to 62.5% of the team's goals. But with his availability in question due to injury, Kotoko have to make adjustments.
I can report to you that Albert Amoah looks likely to miss the next 3 to 4 games of Asante Kotoko. That means he's likely to be out for at least a month. And I can tell you that from the training that was conducted, Prosperity Ogum is likely to use Elvis Chebafo or Jawda Saka as the leading striker.
With a 22-year-old out for possibly a month, Kotoko could miss his services in the Super Clash against Hearts of Oak in December. In essence, the club is currently without a pure goal scorer available after Uwebi Agub, the other finisher from Sudan, alongside his countryman Esmat Mohamed, are yet to be found after reaching USA. The club is getting closer to finding a solution though, with a familiar face from the past currently in camp.
Former player Kwame Poku, who scored some 8 goals in the first round, was transferred under former CEO of the club, Nana Aboso. And then they also have Isaac Minta, former player of the Ghana Stars, who has been training with them for the past 2 weeks. So Kwame Poku started training this week, and Isaac Minta has been training for the last 2 weeks. We understand that there is a special dispensation where Asante Kotoko can register a player who is a free agent and was not in the country as at the time the transfer window was closing. So that is something that management is also doing to try to, as it were, mitigate this problem.
Kotoko will travel to Bechem United next. Prosper Ogum will be forced to try something different and would hope to get positive results. Will he survive the hardships without his clinical talisman?
Now, Kotoko's arch rivals Hearts of Oak are currently playing against Vision FC in the Ghana Premier League, and the scoreline is 0-0 at half-time. Moving on to Europe, Ruud van Nistelrooy says he would like the Manchester United manager's job on a permanent basis in the future, but wants to go back to his role as assistant coach when Ruben Amorim takes charge on Monday. The former United striker took charge as interim manager when his Dutch compatriot Erik ten Hag got sacked. United have won twice and drawn once under Van Nistelrooy, who takes charge of the team for the 4th and final time on Sunday when they host Leicester City in the Premier League.
Manager or assistant coach, I thought that through, and I knew that coming to Manchester United was for me a special occasion where I felt I want to be part of this journey with the club in also an assistant role. I had clear ambitions to manage. I made the decision to sign a 2-year deal as an assistant, and I'm still in that frame of mind, to be fair, to stay in that capacity.
Indeed. Well, that's it for the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Billy Shen. Entertainment is up next.
My life wasn't always like this. I worked in a bank. I had money.
the Best Global Music Performance category for the 2025 Grammy Awards. This makes it his 4th nomination in the prestigious award scheme. Now in 2022, his Voice of Bunbon Volume 1 album also got a nomination in the Best Global Music Album category. It comes after his 6th studio album, Branches of the Same Tree, which was nominated for a Grammy Award for the Best Reggae Album in December 2015. For the 67th Grammys, Rocky earned a slot in the Best Global Music Performance category with the song Rise. The 2025 Grammy Awards will be held on February 2, 2024 at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Now to some more stories. Guinness World Records has dismissed the longest eating marathon record attempt by Ghanaian content creator Clementina Nkrumah, known as Ifwa Nash. Now, she had planned to attempt a 4-day, 7-hour and 20-minute non-stop eating marathon, with the event scheduled to begin on Monday, November 11, 2024. However, in response to a social media post promoting her record attempt, Guinness World Record clarified that it no longer recognizes records for extended eating marathons. The organization updated its guidelines and stated that records for eating events are now based on the rate of consumption rather than duration. We no longer monitor records for eating over a long period of time, though we did it in the past. Nowadays, we still have consumption records, but they are based on the rates of consumption and are typically limited to a short time frame, the organization stated. Still on some more entertainment news, the wait is almost over. Now, Squid Game Season 2 will officially premiere on December 26. Now, Netflix dropped the first official footage of the much-anticipated season. The new episodes will pick up 3 years. Season, continuing the story of a brutal high-stakes competition where players risk their lives for a massive cash prize. Directed, written and produced by Hwang Dong-hyuk, the new season will once again star South Korean actor Lee Jong-jae, who won an Emmy for his role of player 456, Gi-hun. In the upcoming season, Gi-hun returns with a new resolve after having turned down a life-changing opportunity in the United States. Squid Game became a global sensation following its record-breaking launch in 2021, becoming Netflix's biggest series debut at all time. Now, and while fans eagerly await Season 2, Netflix has already confirmed that a 3rd season, set for release in 2025, will mark the final chapter of the series. And that's how we wrap up on the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko.
Let's now do some international news.
The U.S. government has brought charges against an Iranian man in connection with an alleged plot to assassinate Donald Trump before he was elected the next president. The Department of Justice on Friday unsealed an indictment against Fahad Shakeri, 51, alleging he was tasked with providing a plan to kill Trump. The U.S. government said Mr. Shakeri has not been arrested and is believed to be in Iran. In a criminal complaint filed in Manhattan court, prosecutors alleged that an official in Iran's Revolutionary Guard directed Mr. Shakeri in September to devise a plan to surveil and kill Trump.
Well, that's all for News360. Thanks very much for watching. For more news, you can log on to our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Pa Kwesi Asari.
And I am Aisha Yakubu Khalid. Have a lovely weekend.